Hello and welcome to Let's Talk with Bishop R.C. Blakes. R.C. is an author, empowerment teacher, and the proud pastor of the New Home Ministries of New Orleans, Louisiana and Houston, Texas. His message circles the globe. His conversational and candid approach to challenging content makes him a relevant voice to all generations. Get ready for a life-changing transformational conversation.
Hey, this is R.C. Blakes, and I am, of course, always excited to be able to share with you what's on my heart. Well, today, I really need you to invite some people to come into this discussion, into this conversation. I want to discuss what I call the four valleys of manhood. The four valleys of manhood. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, when I was thinking about just, this concept for a message, and I was thinking about manhood. I was, just kind of looking at the world and the way the world is set up and how classical manhood is no longer celebrated. It's almost like, it really is almost like if you are a, straight heterosexual classical man, it's almost politically incorrect. That's sad to say. I was watching an interview, I think, with Boosie, I think that's his name, on The Breakfast Club, and he was sharing some opinions and some thoughts about manhood as he sees it. And quite frankly, I never thought that I would agree at all with Boosie on anything, but I have to admit that I was feeling his sentiments relative to the attack on classical manhood. And it's so bad that our young men are confused as it relates to what manhood really is supposed to look like. And then you see all of the images projected in the world from music to media to fashion. And, everything is to suggest that there are no clear lines anymore between what is a man versus what is a woman. And if we're confused on that, we certainly are massively confused on roles. And then we're even more confused on the responsibilities of manhood. There was a time a couple of generations ago when, men had a very clear idea, young boys had a very clear idea about what manhood was, how to achieve it, how to attain to it, when you were hitting the mark, when you were missing it. And so, for that group that's searching for, and I know that's not, let me not say that, but for the group that's searching for that dimension of manhood, that level of manhood, classical manhood, this message is for you. Because to attain to, authentic manhood is more than, now listen to this very carefully, this is important. It's more than how much money you make. It's more than how much money you make. It's more than accolades. It's more than, the circle you run in. Manhood, authentic manhood, is built from the inside out, not the outside in. You can't put wrappings around an empty shell of a man and call it a man. And that's all dollar figures are, achievements, all of these things are simply wrappings. Manhood has to start at the core of the male. And it's from his core that he develops authentic, 100% immutable, unchangeable manhood. Manhood that cannot be taken away. And I call it the four valleys because wherever there are valleys, there are mountains. And there are pinnacles of achieved manhood. There are pinnacles. One of those pinnacles is greatness. Every man strives for greatness. Greatness is the personal realization of your purpose manifesting before the world. That's a great man. A man that was born to accomplish certain things, and he fulfills that before the world. Then there's the mountain of discipline. Well, you really can't be great unless you're disciplined. That's to have what? Control over one's own faculties. Your life, your mind, your body, to be disciplined. And then there's the mountain of courage, greatness, discipline, courage. Courage is not the absence of fear. It's just the fortitude that does not allow one to give in to the fear. Courage is mandatory to manhood. And then there's the fourth mountain of honor. Well, leading to each of these, and what is honor? Honor is living your life in a way that demands respect. It's living your life at a certain level that you never have to say to your children, respect me. It's because you live as an honorable man. Honor becomes your portion. It becomes the fruit because you've sown the seed. But leading to any mountain, be it the mountain of honor, courage, discipline, or greatness, there are valleys. You cannot have a mountain without a valley. You cannot have a pinnacle without a valley. And the valley is the thing that you have to manage, maneuver, you have to go through, you have to accomplish, to make your way. Valleys are opportunities to mountains. Valleys are opportunities that lead to mountains. And for every mountain, the four mountains of manhood, there is a corresponding valley. If you look in 1 Kings chapter 2 and verse 2, King David here is dying, and he's saying to his son Solomon, who would be his successor, he says, I'm going the way of all the earth. In other words, I'm dying, dust to dust, ashes to ashes. He says, be thou strong, therefore, and watch his wording here. And he says to Solomon, and show thyself a man. Well, you see, every man wants to rest on the pinnacle, but very few want to master the valleys that lead to the pinnacle. Presently, I'm in Europe. I'm in Madrid, Spain. Lisa and I are in Madrid, Spain at this time. And we just left Italy some days ago. I forget the little town in Italy, but it's a town that's built in a mountain. Positano. Thank you, sweetheart. It's a town that's built in the mountain. And so we didn't know, this is the trip of a lifetime. We're getting ready to live on the side of a mountain looking out over the waters and boats and yachts. Lifestyle of the rich and famous. And man, we got to the place where the villa was. The villa was 115 steps from the ground. Well, first of all, where the park is down, on the lower part of the mountain, and you have to kind of walk up the side of the mountain a little bit, and then the steps begin 115 flights. I had to take about 3 or 4 breaks because everybody want to live in that villa with that view. Come on now. But not many want to go through the process of traveling the stairs, coming from the valley, the bottom, started at the bottom, now I'm here. Everybody want to be here, but nobody wants to really do the work that it takes to get from the bottom to the top. There was no elevator. There was no means of getting me up there but my 2 feet, one after the other. So for every mountain, there's a corresponding valley. For the mountain of greatness, there's the valley of ego. If you dare to be great, you must conquer the valley of the ego. Now, you know, there's an acronym that I picked up on. It's not my idea. It was somebody else's idea. Turned ego into an acronym, edging God out. That's a major struggle with us as men. The ego. The ego is what wrecks us financially. The ego is what causes us to destroy great relationships, great women. The ego is what, you know, just completely obliterates our relationships with our kids. The ego, man. The ego is what causes us to go to jail. The ego. And there's no being on the planet that has a bigger ego than a man. And if you don't wake up and realize that most of your issues, my brother, is the consequence of your own ego, and then you listen to, you know, guys that come with this, I don't know what you would call it. It's toxic for certain, but these ideas of manhood that's purely driven by ego and misogyny. You know, it's a brand of manhood that says destroy the women that that nurture life and have your babies, and somehow you're going to have a healthy and great society. It's one of the most foolish propositions I've ever heard in my life. There's no balance to it. And you do all of this under the auspices of, I'm not going to be a simp. Well, come on, man. You got simps, you got pimps, but then you got kings. You don't have to be a simp, but you don't have to be a fool either. And you have to, as a man, you have to check that ego. And if you are so undeveloped in your manhood and so uncertain about your manhood that you have to go on the offense relative to women, how much man are you really? If you have to find yourself in opposition and almost in combat with the women in your world, how much man are you really? My woman is on the other side of this wall here. I'm not intimidated by my woman. I don't have to prove that I'm the man with my woman. She knows I'm the man. I know I'm the man, and everybody around me know I'm the man. You know I'm the man. But when that ego takes over, we make foolish decisions that only serve to destroy our lives. If you would ever be great, you're going to have to conquer. You're going to have to go through the deep valley of the ego, and you're going to have to climb those stairs to come up out of that valley of ego to rise to greatness. There is no greatness where ego is in control. I was reading a book, and the brother was talking in the book about any person that would be exceptional. Any person that would be exceptional. One of the number one characteristic of any exceptional person in any era, in any part of the world, is that exceptional people always make others feel exceptional. But when you're driven by ego, you are managed by a self-serving mindset. There's no consideration for anyone else. So what that does to you, what ego effectively is a little box that you fit yourself into. And it does not allow you to expand. Because if you would rise to the pinnacle of greatness, you must first conquer the valley of ego. And listen to what the Bible says in Matthew 23:11. But he that is greatest among you shall be your servant. He that is greatest shall be your servant. The way to be high is to be low. But how few of us as men, how few of us have really learned this lesson? And we're still around here flexing and we're trying to prove that I'm number one. And when you're number one, you ain't got to prove it. When you bossing up, you ain't got to prove it. Everybody knows it. The world can see it. When you alpha, you ain't got to say it. If you really want to be great, man, you got to conquer that ego. You're trying to figure out why is it that you only go so far. It's because ego always has a ceiling. It's a glass ceiling. And it boxes you in. You keep hitting your head trying to figure out, why can't I go higher? Why can't I go higher? And then you put on this front and you act like I'm alpha, I'm the man, I'm the man. And on the inside, you're a scared little boy. Put you in the middle of a certain circle of men. You don't even really know how to function, but you have this act because your ego has locked up your potential for greatness. And then you have the mountain of discipline. For us as men, the mountain of discipline, we have to go through, watch this, and overcome the valley of anger. The greatest discipline a man may have is the discipline over his emotions. Because when a man does not have control of his anger, when a man does not have control of his anger, he has no control over his life. When your buttons are so exposed to the world that they can push your button and you get angry and you fly off the handle and you can't control that. You got so much, raging testosterone that you all out in the streets fighting and you 30 years old trying to, have a brawl in the middle of the street at a club. You can't control yourself with your woman. If you would be a disciplined man, you must conquer the valley of anger. It's dangerous for a man to be angry. The most dangerous being on the planet is really not the lion. It's not the tiger. It's a man that is angry and out of control. There's always the threat of destruction and violence when we as men lack the discipline of our emotions and our anger gets the best of us. We say things that cause injury that we're not even equipped to repair, because anger, produces more than physical fruit. The greatest weapon of an angry man is his language. He'll say anything and he'll use his words to destroy intentionally. But if you would rise to the pinnacle of discipline, and greatness is reserved for the disciplined man, you're going to have to conquer your anger. How many of you that are watching me now are in a mess right now because you got angry, you got out of control, you did some things, you said some things that you shouldn't have said? Well, that's not just going to, listen to what I'm saying, that's not just going to go away. There's a certain point in your life as a man that you're going to have to do some introspection, and you're going to have to challenge yourself in the areas where you're failing. And you're going to have to do the work to uproot those, whatever that root is that is producing the fruit of that anger. You're going to have to do the work to uproot that. And you're going to have to stop giving yourself a pass because Pops wasn't there. Well, Pops wasn't there, but you're here. And the mere fact that you're still here means that you have an opportunity to be to your seed what your Pops was never to you. But if you're going to allow the absence of your Pops to produce this, fury in you that causes you to walk through the world like King Kong, well, you're going to produce another generation of brokenness, all because you failed to deal with your anger and rise to the pinnacle of discipline. There's no more powerful being than a man that can be irritated and angry and no one ever know it. And he can control himself and move forward with his life without disrupting the harmony between his present moment and his destiny. That's what anger comes to do. That's what anger does to us as men. It comes into a certain moment and it robs us, for a moment, it robs us of our future. But if you would be a great man, you would be a disciplined man. And if you are a disciplined man, you are a man that has mastered, or is mastering, should I say, his anger. The Bible says in Proverbs 14:29, it says, "He that is slow to wrath is of great understanding, but he that is hasty of spirit exalteth folly." Now, what does the world teach you? The world teaches you, put them paws on somebody, you crossing me, you crossing me, you crossing me, we're going to go for it. Well, you can go for it, but you ain't going to go very far. Not with that. Not with that. You'll always be reduced to street level antics. You will never rise to the pinnacle of greatness because you lack the discipline to go. And as a man, it's time for you to grow up. Just bouncing around here in all these street fights and all of this yakety yak and all of this kind of stuff and all this foul language and screaming on the phone and, just out of control all the time. Man, when are you going to stop that? You're stressing your children out. Your woman's scared. Even your mama's scared. And here you are a grown man and you don't have control of your emotions any better than that. And you run it calling yourself a man. Men don't do that. It doesn't matter how powerful a man is. He never brings drama and fear and torment into his world. He doesn't allow people to bring it in, and he certainly doesn't bring it in himself. He doesn't even entertain foolishness unless foolishness happens to come up on his premises and he has to deal with it. But great men don't typically walk around angry. They deal with their issues. They confront their issues. They process their demons, and they move to the next level in life. There was no man that had any more of a reason to be angry than my father, Robert Charles Blake Sr., who passed about 8 going on 9 years ago now. Greatest man I've ever known in my life, my hero, still today. Till this day, he's my hero. His father wasn't there. His mother wasn't there. He was raised by his grandparents. Strong dude. I mean physically strong. Dominant presence. But yet he was such a strong guy. Just from the street, from Mississippi, came here to New Orleans, knew the streets and all of that kind of thing. Called into ministry, but he brought all of that kind of swag with him. But then he had such a gentle side and such a loving side. But then, he had a sternness about him that everybody knew. You got to respect this dude. Don't play with him. But he was never an angry guy. Never physically, voice deep and physically, You just, tell he's nobody to play with, but yet he had such a gentleness about him. And that's the mark of a disciplined man. That's a man that is walking in what? Meekness. Now, what is meekness? Meekness is not weakness. Weakness is the inability to respond. Meekness is a man that has all of the capacity to tear your head off, but he chooses to keep that capacity under control so that that everybody involved might have a better outcome. It's the meekness of a great man. When a man is disciplined, he's not walking around angry. He's meek. It's power under control. And then you have the mountain of courage. You can't be a great man unless you're courageous. What's the valley that leads to the pinnacle of courage? It's the valley of fear. You got to conquer the valley of fear. To get to greatness, you have to conquer the valley of the ego. To get to discipline, you have to conquer the valley of anger. To get to courage, you have to conquer the valley of fear, because it's terrifying to be a man. It's terrifying to be the man. Now, a lot of times our women don't get it because they're not men. They don't know what it means to have the responsibility of, them and children and all that is involved in that on your shoulders, to sleep with that, to pray that you stay in good health so that you can finish the job. They don't know what that means. They don't know what that means. It's terrifying to be a man. That's why so many brothers choose not to grow up, because it takes a lot of courage to grow up. It's a lot of fear involved in the evolution of a man, to move from a little boy, to whatever, to transition into actual manhood is going to demand that you overcome a lot of fears. The fear of rejection, the fear of failure. A lot of brothers just choose not to even try because they're too afraid to fail. Listen to what the Bible says in 2 Timothy 1:7. For God hath not given us the spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. What is it that you would be doing right now? But the reality is you're afraid. You can't talk to your woman about that. You can't just tell your woman you scared, but you ain't got nobody to talk to. You keeping all of this stuff balled up on the inside of you, man. You're going to be like a volcano. You're going to erupt. But I'm here to tell you that there's some things that are not going to happen as long as you're just sitting on the sideline wishing and hoping. As a man, you're going to have to step into this fear, because the only way to get to the next level is to go through the fear. The fear ain't going nowhere. The fear is not going anywhere. In fact, about it, the only way to get rid of the fear is to do it. One of the lessons you got to learn as a man: courage is not the absence of fear. It is the resolve not to allow the fear to stop you from getting to where you know you're supposed to be. So you got to do it even when you got to do it afraid. That's manhood. That's manhood. You got to take the risk. You have this thing in your spirit, man. You feel like, I need to start this business. What if it don't work? What if it does? If it doesn't work, take the lessons you learned, try it again. But don't let the fear stop you, because the only way to rise to the pinnacle of courage is to go through the valley of fear. This is what God told Joshua. In Joshua 1:9, he says, have not I commanded thee, be strong and of a good courage, be not afraid, neither be thou dismayed, for the Lord thy God is with thee, whithersoever thou goest. You cannot conquer a promised land without stepping into your fear. There are some things that God's not going to do for you. There's some things you're just going to have to do it. You're going to have to do it afraid. And once you do it afraid, you realize that you are always bigger than the challenge. But if you're going to stand on the pinnacle, the mountain of courage that all men must stand upon, you're going to have to go through this valley of fear. So many things I do. And man, I'm shaking in my boots when I do it. Now, I never, you never let them see you sweat and always look like I have it all together. I know what I'm doing, and, whoop-de-whoop, I got this. You know what I'm saying? That's that swag. You got to have that. You know what I mean? But you go into your secret place and it's just you and God. Hey, God, I'm scared as I can be. And prayerfully, God gives you some solid relationships where you have somebody you can talk on the real to and not just be around here fronting like all these other dudes are doing, sitting around here smoking all this weed, drinking all this liquor, talking all this talk out their mouth and ain't doing nothing with their lives. Your mouth going where your feet ain't following because you scared. I know you big and you got tats and you got all this here, you got dreads and you terrifying to the world, but on the inside you scared. But it's not until you step into your fears, you can't stand on that pinnacle of courage. It's going to take courage for you to get off your behind and go back to school and educate yourself. It's going to take courage for you to step away from this circle you running with that's doing nothing but ruining and wasting their lives. It's going to take courage for you to give up on this lifestyle you live in that's destroying everything meaningful. You're a king, brother. You're a king. You're not one of these clowns that's standing on the corners, roaming these streets. You're a king. It's going to take courage for you to walk by yourself and to let them say whatever they have to say. It's going to take courage for you. I know you're scared to do it, but you can't stand on the pinnacle of courage until you go through the valley of fear. What are you afraid of? What is it that you should be doing right now, but you've been afraid? You've not told anybody, but in your heart you've been afraid. You would have done it. You would have tried it. You're afraid. It's not abnormal, brother. All great men are afraid. If you're not afraid, you ain't trying. If you're not afraid, you're not trying. And then let me give you this last one, the mountain of honor. The valley through which we have to go to get to the place of honor is the valley of lust. Every man wants to be honored. I want to be respected. I need to be respected. But then we allow lust to rule our lives like Samson did in the Bible. He allowed his lust for Delilah to pervert his judgment. And what did that lust lead him to? It led him to dishonor. They put out his eyes. He lost his strength. He lost his purpose. He lost his vision because of lust. And the world will tell you, oh, this is what being a man is. You need to have you multiple women, you know what I mean? Just have one for every day of the week. And they tell you that that's manhood. What kind of legacy are you building with that? What is a legacy? A legacy is what you're going to be remembered for. It's the value that lives on beyond you. Just bouncing around, having all of these women, making all of these babies out of wedlock. What kind of legacy is that, man? What kind of legacy is that? Your funeral going to be a fiasco. You know, your women in there fighting and all of this kind of thing. What kind of legacy is that? Every man has to deal with his lust because the world has taught us that our manhood is inseparable from our sexuality. Your manhood should inform your sexuality, but your sexuality does not validate your manhood. Having sex with however many, that's no. It's when you go back to the place of discipline that you bring all of this stuff under control. And as a man, you can live your life on purpose, in order, for the intent of legacy. You're not just going to squander your years and your youth King Lemuel, his mother sat him down and said to him, she said, boy, this is, you know, these are not the ways of kings. Kings don't give their strength to loose women. Kings don't run around having sex with every woman. You got too much to lose, boy. Kings don't get drunk on wine and get all out of their head. You have great decisions to make. If you want to be an honorable man, you're going to have to conquer the valley of lust. You got to climb up out of your lust. As long as you're stuck in that valley of lust, my brother, you will always be a grown boy. Because grown boys are ruled by their loins. Men are ruled by their vision. Not these, but this. And when you get a vision, your vision elevates you above your lust and your desires. A whole lot of stuff my flesh would love, but it doesn't agree with my destiny. And I'm not going to squander my future for a moment. Second Timothy 2:20 and 21 says, but in a great house there are not only vessels of gold and of silver, but also of wood and of earth, and some to honor and some to dishonor. If a man therefore purge himself from these, he shall be a vessel unto honor, sanctified and meet for the master's use, and prepared unto every good work. When you purge yourself from the buffoonery and the folly, you become a vessel of honor that God will use. And your life becomes magnificent. So these are some of the things, man, that I've learned in these years about true manhood. Not this stuff that y'all seen promoted all around the world today, but authentic, classical, biblical, spiritual manhood. These are some of the things that I've learned. I hope you got something out of my little discussion today. Prayerfully, some brothers will see this. But I want to pray for you now. God, as I am speaking into the hearts of these brothers, allow their hearts, dear God, to be made pliable, that they might hear and receive what I'm saying. God, I thank you that they will look beyond me and that they will hear the wisdom that you are imparting into them. Now, Father, I thank you for the strength to change. Let them see, dear God, what only you can show them. And then God, give them the strength to change, to make adjustments. And I call them blessed and highly favored. In Jesus' name. Well, I hope you got something out of this, man. I just wanted to pull aside and take a moment to just speak to the hearts of brothers. Please share this with every man that you know, those that you know would be receptive. Share this with them. Let them hear what we've discussed today. Now, listen, don't forget to go to my website, rcblakes.com, and sign up for my mailing list. My email list. Just go to rcblakes.com. Right there on the first page, you'll see a prompting to join the mailing list or something to that effect. And it's as easy as that. You can do it in less than 60 seconds. Don't forget to stop by and look at my online programs. Go to amazon.com and check out all of my books that are written. In fact, about it, QUEENOLOGY is there on Amazon. The book and the workbook for the brothers. It's there. I wrote the book, QUEENOLOGY. There's a king in you, my brother. I want you to read that book. It's the return of the king, the return to classical manhood. Go ahead and read that book, and a lot of the principles that we discussed tonight are in that book. Pick it up at Amazon. You can pick it up and, along with it, the companion study guide, workbook, whatever you want to call it. They are there. Those of you that may need counseling, there's a link in the description for BetterHelp counseling. You can hit that link and it'll afford you 10% off the cost of counseling. And BetterHelp will make a deposit into RC Blake's Ministries as an offering for our recommending them are you to them if you find that it's something that works for you? Well, I'm R.C. Blakes Jr., and I hope you've enjoyed this time with me today. I certainly have enjoyed it with you. But until next time, man, know that you're on top. You're going higher. God has more in store for you. I'll talk to you real soon. God bless you. Until then.
We here at RC Blakes Ministries want to thank you for spending this time with us today. RC and Lisa are always honored to have you with us. Don't forget to reach out to us by visiting our website at www.rcblakes.com. While you're there, you may join our mailing list and receive a free download of The Laws of Manifesting Your Vision by RC Blakes. Also look at all of the online programs by RC. You may find all books written by RC and Lisa. Once again, all of us here at RC Blakes Ministries want to thank you from the bottom of our hearts. And as we always say, see you at the top.